Thank you so much, Rick, for joining us today. So, the co-founder of Neycko Menswear. So, yeah, it's really a pleasure to have you here. We're looking forward to exploring everything around sustainability, not just as an ethical consideration, but as a real value driver within the menswear space, particularly through the lens of Neycko.
Mhm.
So really just would love to discuss the challenges you're navigating, the decisions behind the brand, and
Yep.
how you see the future of menswear evolving. So with that, do you want to do a quick introduction of yourself and a bit of the story of where Neycko Menswear originated?
Yes, of course. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited being a partner of Habit Sust. Me myself, I'm 41 years old. Live in the Netherlands and started Neycko Menswear 4 years ago. Actually, as a legacy to my father. My father, he was a tailor and he actually made the patterns for collections. Worked with a lot of brands, corporate fashion, but also mainly women's wear. And he actually was very fond of techno jersey fabrics, which are the sustainable and the durable. Comfortable fabrics which you see in women's wear a lot, and he actually made a trouser for me during
Yeah.
COVID. He said, you have to try this. It's great, and I think that in menswear it will become much more important. And he actually made that for me, and I never had the intention to start a brand. We always discussed about it, and we said, okay, maybe in the future we have to start something. And unfortunately, during COVID, he was already sick, and well, getting very sick. And I said, okay, now's the time to do it. So we actually started. I started the brand on behalf of my father as a legacy to him. Um, First of all, just like a hobby,
Yeah.
with the intention that if in 30 years anyone would still wear your trouser, it would be a legacy to you. But yeah, actually, after that it went very fast, and we were started growing, and we had more stores selling our clothes. And we started with trousers, and then we make a full collection, purely techno jersey fabrics,
Yeah.
or well, partly techno jersey fabrics. It should be comfortable and sustainable, and that's actually the main focus for Neycko Menswear.
Yeah. And do you mind just explaining? Because I feel like maybe some non-fashion people might not exactly know what techno jersey, what it is. So what makes it, would you say, durable and more sustainable than some other fabrics?
The jersey fabrics, as most people know, they have lycra in it,
Yeah.
or elastan. It's very flexible. Techno jersey fabrics, it's actually mainly of polyamide or polyester and lycra. So
Yeah.
there's no cotton or lin or wool or anything like that, which makes it very sustainable because it's durable. So it doesn't peel, it doesn't discolor, it actually stays in shape. So it's very durable. I mean, the
Mm.
lifetime cycle of a techno jersey fabric is very long. It actually comes from swimwear and the bathing suits, things like that. Those were all techno jersey fabrics. And where you usually saw it in sports, now you really see it in mainly just in fashion, street fashion, things like that. So that's where the techno jersey fabrics come from. You have the jersey, and then this is really a techno jersey. It also looks very technical because
Yeah.
it's a bit shiny, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So rather than, because what we find within fashion and sustainability and materials is, some people might say, okay, these like cotton and stuff, it's more sustainable because it's organic. But from your perspective is more, well, we really focus on longevity and durability. And that's why we've chosen this fabric.
Yes, with cotton and with wool, and you have the organic fabrics, which is great because
Yeah.
that's also has a focus on sustainability. But that's more of the way things are produced. But still, if you wear it, it doesn't last for like 10 years. If you have like something from cotton or from linen, it still changes the shape. It can discolor. It's gonna peel. So for us, the techno jersey fabric, which is also very sustainable in the production because they use a lot of recycled fabrics, regenerated fabrics. But if you have a trouser from Techno Jersey, and you have it for 10 years, it almost still looks the same as the day you bought it because
Yeah.
it still has the same color, it has the same shape. So from an economic perspective, or like from a commercial perspective, it's not very good because most brands just want to sell new garments
Yeah.
every year, but we go for a long-lasting.
Yeah, yeah.
Y-
Everything I've heard from kind of within fashion and sustainability is it's a trade-off, right? You have to prioritize one thing over the other.
yeah.
I just one question kind of to also further kickstart the conversation is within menswear specifically, what sustainability challenges have you noticed kind of are the most prominent and how are you addressing them?
Well, I think that the main problem in fashion, and not only menswear, but also womenswear, is like overstock production. That's always a challenge because for us, for the brands, we always have to make a forecast, and that's very difficult because things change and there are trends, things like that. For us, we really focus on timeless models.
Yeah,
So, like our trouser, the one we started with, is still in our collection, and now we only last for we're only here for 4 years, so we're not that. It's not that long. We're still a young company, but I think in over 10 years we still have that basic trouser, and that's a little easier for menswear because men, we are just simple. If we have a trouser and we like it, we still want to buy that trouser over 10 years or 20 years. So. Um, but that's always a challenge. And now with the new data models and AI and things like that, you can implement it and you can make a better forecast and you can reduce that overproduction. But yeah, I think that stock and overproduction is still the most challenging thing in
yeah,
fashion.
yeah. So is that something you use, the AI piece that you mentioned for to kind of calibrate?
Well, now we see the new models. We're having a new system now, a CRM system, which also uses AI, and they just use the data, and then you can see, okay, what are your clients and their sizes and measurements of those clients, and what do they prefer, which colors do they prefer, which collection, which models, and if you have that data, then you can also make a forecast for this year, next year,
Yeah,
and for those models, not for every collection,
yeah,
but you can make it for your basics. And that's really important because I think for most brands, 70 or 80% of their revenue are the basics. And if you can control that,
yeah,
and you can have a good understanding with your supplier about the because usually suppliers say, okay, we can do a production, but you need to take a minimum of 1,000 pieces or 2,000 pieces. So you always have that overproduction, and that makes it a little more difficult to prevent that overstock.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine that actually. So it sounds like really the whole essence of your brand is really timelessness, kind of no overproduction and keeping it just simple and long lasting, right?
Yeah,
So
true.
how would you say, and you touched on this a little bit already, how do you balance kind of durability and premium quality with the realities of responsible production? So I know you said, the material itself, it uses recycled fabrics and the
Yeah.
actual production is quite sustainable. Do you want to talk a little bit more about?
Yeah, well, for us, the main focus is always the fabrics. So
Yeah.
we use those fabrics, and these fabrics they come from Italy, and they're all certified, and they use regenerated fabrics and recycled fabrics.
Yeah.
And that was actually the basis that we said, okay, you know what can we do? And actually, the main sustainability is within the fabrics, and then you always of course have the production within the factories. I mean, we work with suppliers and they have the solar panels on the roof and they have all those things, but which is sustainable. But for us the main thing was, how can we make smaller collections?
Yeah.
We design everything ourselves and we can do that in-house in the Netherlands, so we don't need a lot of sales collections, the pre-collections before we sell them to the stores. And after that we have a basic nose collection, which
Mm-hmm.
means that we have a never out of stock, which are the basics. We can sell them
Oh,
always. So if we have we never have an overproduction, because if we have 1,000 trousers in overproduction, for example, we still sell them. They're not going in sale. We still because if we don't sell them this year, we're going to sell them next year.
yeah.
And then we have the smaller basics. And we said, okay, we make 3 small collections every year. We go to our clients, our customers, the retailers. We sell that collection, and
Mm.
we make like an overstock of 10%.
Yeah.
which means that it's actually sold out. When we deliver a few weeks later, it's sold out. So
Yeah.
we don't have leftovers. Um, and at first, that was a bit of a problem for the stores because they said, "Yeah, we just always want to buy from stock." And I said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, okay, we can, but if you how do you say that? If you create less product is actually a better product.
Yeah.
So we have less product, it's a better product. And if we see that a model works or it's good, then we can make a similar model in the next collection.
Mm.
But we just want to prevent that, we are a brand with who sells a lot. And I mean, of course, we want to make revenue and want to make
Yeah.
profit. Don't get me wrong, but we don't want like a sale, a customer sale 2 times a year where we actually sell our complete overstock
Yeah.
because it's it doesn't seem right.
No. So it sounds like most of your products, well, you have a baseline collection, which if it doesn't sell this season, that's okay because it's not seasonal, right? It just,
No, true.
yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And you mentioned your suppliers are based in Italy. How do you choose your suppliers or where does that come from?
Well, actually, the fabric suppliers, they come from Italy,
Yeah.
and then we have production within Europe. But we actually choose our fabric supplier. Well, it actually came from my father because he
Okay.
already works with those
Yeah.
suppliers, so he knew them. And in Italy, you have actually the best techno jersey fabrics. I mean, it's a
Okay.
country which has a great history of fabrics and also sustainability. These suppliers, we use 3 suppliers from Italy, and yeah, they all recognized and certified, and they had a lot of
Yeah.
award-winning materials and fabrics. So, but the other thing is that we also want to stay with them because they have a long-term vision, and they also have a paper on their website of a long-term vision for the next 10, 20 years. So, and we want to just go with them, and we actually told them, yeah, we want to have a long-lasting relationship,
Mhm.
but we're actually going to base our collection on what you produce. So
Yeah.
if they have new fabrics, and now they also have fabrics which have a linen look and they have a suede look and a wool look, but it's still techno jersey. We're gonna base our collection on what you make.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes us a bit dependent, but we just believe in the techno jersey that's gonna have a bigger role
Yeah.
in the fashion.
It's interesting because I think one of the big issues within fashion is that lack of kind of normally it's the brand just choosing whichever supplier works for whatever
Yeah,
model and maybe they
true.
switch and so there's not really a partnership, right? Whilst
No.
in this case you have a real partnership so that
Yeah.
also if you say, actually I feel like, we want to kind of pivot more in this way with regards to sustainability, is that something that's doable? Like it allows for a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
True.
which is really interesting. I think just shifting a little bit more towards kind of consumer insights and behavior, I'd
Yeah.
be super keen to understand. Um, kind of, have you noticed whether men or your target audience is becoming more conscious as a shopper, or have you noticed any patterns in that sense?
Well, the main thing for people when they buy clothes is just okay, the fit. It should be fit. But what we really see is the comfort within fashion.
Okay.
I mean, usually it had to look good. And now it just has to feel good, and that's something that's really changed after COVID. I mean, we were
Yeah.
all wearing tracksuits and our joggings, and yeah, then we had to go back to the office after COVID, and we still wore our tracksuits basically because it really changed the way we dressed.
Yeah.
Um, so the fit and comfort that's something that changed. And you don't see people buying clothes and think, okay, I want to know or this is a certified fabric.
Yeah.
But what you do see, and especially with this generation or the younger generation, is that they want the storytelling. So what
Yeah.
is the story behind it? And they're not gonna scan a label to read, okay, where is it from? But if you show that on a platform like Instagram or TikTok or things like that, or you make videos of the way things are produced, where the fabrics come from, that's something that people found really interesting. So I also think that, with the product passports, which are talking about
Uh-huh.
within 2028 now, um, now they're talking about having a QR code on every label where you can scan it and then you can read where it comes from. I think And that's something that AI can help with as well.
Hmm.
That you just have a garment, you make a picture of that garment, and then you immediately see a video or where it is produced, where it
Yeah,
comes from, where. And I think that that's something that's getting there. And I think with the new generation, it makes it really important. So you just you pass a store, you see the window, you see a garment, you make a picture of that garment, and AI is going to tell you where it comes from and
yeah,
what the fabrics are. I think that's something that people want, because people are lazy, so we all want to have something sustainable, and we think that the world is it's important to have a healthy and safe world and sustainable fabrics and sustainable fashion, but you really have to bring it to people, so you
yeah,
have to bring that story to them.
yeah, yeah.
And apart from that, people still walk into the store and think, okay, I want to know, it should fit right and it should be comfortable. And yes, of course, sustainability is important and it's getting more important for people every day, but it's still something that you have to bring to the people.
Yeah. Yeah. So to kind of play that back to you, more people say would come into your store and ask about the story of Neycko Menswear and that whole history behind it, rather than is this material sustainable, right?
Right, right. And then the other thing is that it should last long. And that's
Yeah.
something that's really important to people. If they
Mhm.
have a trouser and it's still good after 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, we don't make garments that last longer than 5 years. I mean, that's important. And then people are also willing to pay more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that is really important
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the consumer.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think that's the whole thing with like brands like yourself, right, that are all about designing that kind of for durability is
Yeah,
how you translate and actually demonstrate that not just from a sustainability environmental standpoint, that's great, but also financially, right? That's
of
good
course.
for the consumer. Like if sometimes I buy jeans and I think, oh, I'm sure they'll last me long, but actually if I wear them every day and then after a year they're not good anymore, it's just very frustrating, right?
True. Yeah. And then people are also willing to pay a bit more. But that was, if you look at 10 years ago or 20 years ago, when something was sustainable, you already had the brands that made things from organic fabrics, but then a t-shirt was like 80 euros. Yeah,
Yeah.
people were not willing to pay that. So then it was only for the high society or the people who had
Mhm.
enough to spend. Now you see that makes a shift. So it's becoming, well, it's still sometimes still more expensive, but it's affordable for most people. And I think that most suppliers don't make fabrics anymore which are not sustainable. So
Yeah.
everybody is it's like with the vehicles, every producer makes electric vehicles now. So it's something that's becoming more normal within the fashion industry.
And do you think that's because more brands ask for it? Or do you think that's more from a like where do you think that driver is?
Well, I think that they have to, because if you just look at, I mean, if you look at the European Union, I
Yeah.
think that they are not allowed to produce other things anymore within 10 or 15 years. It's going very fast now.
Yeah.
So this is also something that needs to be obliged. If there's not a necessity, then I mean, why would you do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
especially if it's
that's
gonna
really
cost you more to do it, right? Yeah. No, that's super interesting. I think just going back to the digital product passport that you mentioned, is
yeah.
that something when you first heard about it, I mean, or just generally thinking as a brand, how did that make you feel? Like, do you see that as like a huge undertaking, or actually are you thinking, no, that's great, and I would love to spend all our efforts on that, and like how I can imagine you might because you've got a little bit more oversight over your suppliers and it's not as huge of an undertaking, but maybe I'm just
No.
putting myself in the shoes of other brands that, have maybe less oversight. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that from a how difficult will it be standpoint?
I have no problem at all. I mean,
Yeah.
people can see if people want to find out, they find out anyway where you make it or where you can. So I think, if you're a brand and you want to keep things secret or you don't want to put it out in the open, then I think you have something to hide. So y- we I'm very transparent about the fabrics that we make. We don't put our supplier on our website. Why? Well, because of course there is competition, but if they want to know it, I mean, they know it anyways. I think that it's gonna make a huge shift if you see where things come from and where the production is. So yeah, I can imagine that for some brands, yeah, it's a bit difficult because they have to put anything out in the open.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you have nothing to hide, yeah, then what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the competition? No, I'm not afraid of the
Yeah.
competition. They don't know it, they're gonna make it anyway. So I don't, that's not a problem for me. I think actually it's gonna make things better if you just know where it comes from. You know, you can also make it an advantage for yourself. I
Yeah.
mean, it's great. Like I said, if in a few years, if you're gonna make a picture of the garment and you see the production and you see the people that make it,
Mm.
if we go to a factory, a lot of things are still handmade. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. I mean, that garment that you wear, people actually put blood, sweat, and tears in it to make that garment. And if you can show where it comes from, I mean, if you can show where the fabrics come from, they go to the factory. I mean, you have the cutting tables and you see how all those pieces become one garment. And then it goes to in the truck or an airplane and it comes, well, the airplane is maybe not sustainable yet, but if we have electric flying in the future, then
Eh,
it's sustainable as well. And then you have it in the showroom and then you buy it. So you see that there's a whole tour and there's a whole supply chain
Yeah.
before you actually have that jacket. And then after that, I mean, there's still a life cycle after that. If you
Mm.
sell it on pages like Vinted or you have it in a secondhand shop and you buy it and you can still see that whole roadmap. I mean,
Yeah.
that's great. So yeah, I think that we should be transparent, and I think it's an incentive for a lot of people in that production cycle to already prepare on what's coming, and you have to make everything an advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I wonder, thinking a bit more, I'm conscious of time. It'd be really interesting to see kind of future facing,
Yeah.
thinking about kind of the future of menswear. How do you envision kind of the evolution of modern menswear in the next 3 to 5 years? Where do you see that going? Also from a sustainability standpoint, how do you see that coming into play more and more?
Well, I think that like artificial intelligence is gonna be a huge part of where sustainability or for sustainability, but also for fashion, of course. Think that for now, men are traditionally really men just go to the store. I mean, based on the statistics, women shop more online, but men still go to the store. But I think that also in the shopping malls and in the shopping streets, things are going to change and make a shift. So, like I said, when you make that picture of a garment, uh, I think in the future, and then it's a few years ahead,
Mm.
we have our own avatar, and which means that we can just have a garment placed on ourselves. We have our sizes, our measurements. You have the stores where you shop online, but also really face to face in the store yourself, and they have your data
Yeah.
and they know your preferences and they know your measurements and they know everything, which reduces a lot of overstock in the near future. I think that's a great advantage. I think that fabrics will become more sustainable every year, to the point that we can totally recycle things. But I think the main shift is the way we shop, or the way we buy our clothes. So for that matter, I think that AI is gonna help a lot in the near future. I think that's the biggest shift.
Yeah. Yeah, and you would hope with what you mentioned before about kind of understanding the full life cycle of a product,
Yeah,
understanding actually all of the different pieces that go into it, and it's not just quickly produced and easily made, right? So knowing that makes you, hopefully, you would think, you would hope that consumers become more appreciative of the garments they buy, and then hopefully maybe buy less over time or a bit more consciously, right?
more consciously. I mean, if it's still if I see a store and and we all know the big brands and
Yeah,
you buy a shirt and a shirt is €9, and you have a new
yeah,
T-shirt, you know, actually it's not possible.
yeah,
It's just not possible, and especially you can say, okay, yeah, but it's only €9. So if it's not good, I just buy a new one. Yeah, well, that's actually just a big problem
yeah,
nowadays. I mean, you should just pay for something that's gonna last
yeah.
a bit longer than a few months.
Yeah.
And then if it lasts like for 2 or 3 years, then it's already cheaper than the €9 t-shirt that you just bought. And if we can make people more aware of that, yeah, then I think it's a big win.
Yeah.
For now, yeah. But it also has to do with what people can afford, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't look into people's wallets, and so I know that there's also a big demand. But then we have to see, okay, but how can we still make that sustainable and still affordable? That's a big challenge.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge for sure. And I think the person who cracks that will be a millionaire.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have to buy a $9 t-shirt anymore.
No, exactly. And so, yeah, what would you hope that Neycko kind of stands for as it grows? I can kind of guess the answer, but just wanting, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, we just want to know if you just in 10 years say the word Nico, you just know, okay, well, that's at first it's comfortable and casual. So it's a timeless design which stands for comfort, and because it lasts long, it also stands for sustainability. So people just have to know if they buy a trouser or a shirt or a jacket, that it feels like wearing a tracksuit. It's timeless, so I don't have to buy something else next year
Mm.
or because there's a new trend. It's just a timeless design, and in 5 years from now, it still looks and feels the same as it was the day I bought it. And if we have that for Nico, then it's actually everything we wish for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, of course, we want global domination.
The sole menswear producer.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, but that's the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah, to be that partner that people can rely on and just say, okay, well, I need this. I want it to last. I want it to look good for a long time, and I want sustainability to be kind of
Yeah.
as a core thing that runs through, right?
Yeah, I think that's what I think that every brand should have. But if you look just at the brands, I mean, if you look like Nikes, I mean, you know what you get when you buy Nikes, and you know what it stands for, and that's all. But that's also if you go to like a fast food chain, or what you're gonna what the money's gonna bring you. And yeah, that's something that's you have to build that, and we do that step by step. So we
Yeah.
don't want to expand or triple every
Yeah.
year, step by step, because we wanna have a long lasting longevity.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And then one final question, and I have to ask this as the co-founder of Habits.
Yeah, of course.
As one of our kind of pioneering partners, really interested to hear kind of how platforms like Habits can support brands like yourself in building trust.
Yeah. Well, I think Habitat can challenge the brands to explain their choices and let them tell their stories.
Yeah.
So actually, it should be a community where you not only present your brand, but actually explain your brand.
Hmm.
So rather than put anything on it and put your products on it, and where people can buy that, which is great, of course, it actually should be like more. Again, the tutorials and explainer videos, things like that, where people just talk about the brands, sharing experience, things like that. And then after that, it will help the brands,
Yeah.
the success, of course. But if you just want to know more about a brand, it should be like a Wikipedia for brands,
Yeah.
but something like that. I mean, now if you look for something, you get the Wikipedia and you find out all the information. But I think that if you make a community for brands like that, where people
Yeah.
can also add things which need to be checked, of course,
Yeah.
for if it's true or not, then yeah, you really get a community. And I think that's something that Habits Trust can facilitate. Just give them a platform where the brands can share their stories, and then of course it needs to be checked. But
Yeah.
I think that's something that's a role for Habits Trust.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's certainly what we're aiming for, right? Is to create
Yeah,
a community of like-minded, sustainable brands, and you know, having a full repository for consumers to also go to and browse,
yeah.
and also for you to kind of maybe speak with another like-minded brand and share.
Of course, yes, of course. It's sharing and caring, and that works both ways. So I think for us, it's not only focused on the consumer, but also for colleagues and other brands, and help each other and learn from each other. I mean, I can see in the future the big events, the big Have It Sus events where you also bring people together face to
Yeah.
face. I mean, now it's just a platform, but then yeah, people can present themselves over there, and you have to, you have the talks on stage and things like that,
Yeah.
or you have workshops, or yeah. I think that's something for the future.
Yeah.
That's
No,
really
and
nice.
that's really nice to hear because that's ultimately what we aim for as well, right? So
That
yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much.
okay. Thank you, Charlotte.